What's up guys, Alex here today, and today I have a kind of cool video for you guys. So as many of you know, I live in communist California, and in California we have this thing called the California gun roster for handguns. And basically in California, most new guns that have come out in the past like 5 or 6 years have not been available for purchase in California from an FFL or a shop. You can get them through private party, like through other people, if they have one, but in terms of buying them brand new from a store, you can't buy a lot of guns. That includes, but is not limited to, you know, like these CZ-P10s, the SIG P320s, the HK VP9s, newer Glocks after Gen 3. But today, I have for you a Gen 5 Glock 19. Right there, you can see. Do a bit of a focus on it. Focus. Whatever. It's a Gen 5. Just take my word for it. This gun is really, really cool. The downside to picking up guns in like these in California that are off the California handgun roster is you're probably gonna pay up the ass for them. As an example, you can pick these up brand new anywhere else in the country for $500 to $550. These here, if you want to pick these up private party through people, they're gonna price gouge you. I paid $900 for this gun. You might be thinking, Alex, that's insane. Why would you spend $900 on a Glock? Well, because I can, and I don't care what you think. But yes, I did really overpay for this, but I really, really wanted it. And I haven't shot it yet. I just picked it up, but I think it's gonna be worth it. There's a lot of features about it that I'm gonna go over. And I'm also gonna compare them to the Gen 3 19, since I do have two Gen 19s now. To clear the air, real quick. Empty magazine, you can tell with the orange follower on these. And same thing with the other one, empty. No rounds, and no rounds. But let's get down on the table and I'll show you guys the differences. Alright, so let's find out if what I paid for this gun really is worth the change and differences. Now, I'm gonna give you a little spoiler. It isn't, but I really wanted a Glock 19 Gen 5. They just feel nice and they're cool. But, and it's my money. I can do whatever I want with my money. Leave me alone. But, let's start with the top of the slide and work our way down with the differences here. With the slide, what you're going to find is these sights are much nicer than stock OEM Gen 3 Glock or Gen 4 and lower sights. The back sight is cut wider and also lower, so you're not going to run into that problem where people are always aiming the front sight up and you're shooting high out of the box. I can actually see these sights being pretty viable, except obviously I'm going to change them because I don't like them still. But they're definitely better than Gen 4 and lower sights. Going from here on the front, what you're going to notice is the front of the slide is bezeled, so, or beveled, one of those, I don't know. But it is curved, so it's supposed to help you put the gun in holsters easier. I can tell you that it doesn't really make a difference. It's just like it almost seems like an afterthought. And this is like the second iteration of the Gen 5s, I believe. The first iterations had a normal cut frame where it actually wasn't matched up with the front of the slide here and it looked kind of funky. So this is, I believe, the second iteration of it, because it also doesn't have the front serrations like the new ones, or the this cutout here is still there. We'll go over that later. But compared to a Gen 3 slide, this is, I really wish I had a stock Gen 3 to compare to you guys, but it's definitely a big difference. It's a little more rounded off on the Gen 3 still than this, but this is closer than not having one at all. Then next thing, the internals of the gun are a little bit different in the slide, and I'll show you that here. Disassembly and everything is still the exact same. There's no differences here in terms of disassembly. But let's start with the barrels. These guys are the same footprint, they are interchangeable, and I have tried this. The difference being that these are marketed as their marksman barrel, so they're supposed to be more accurate than this. The rifling doesn't look any different on both of them. It may be a little bit deeper on these because also it's brand new. This gun has never been shot. And I can't tell if it has, but it still has all the factory copper stuff in the back. The recoil spring is same as the Gen 4s. So it's got the dual spring. It's a little bit bigger compared to a Gen 3. Again, aftermarket spring guide, but this is still the same size. Definitely bigger. The front of the slides are much different footprint as well. The Gen 4 and 5 have a much bigger bottom part here, and the spring guide's obviously way bigger, so they make the hole bigger. The other difference that you're going to find is going to be in the safety plungers here. So you have this one here, which has a little step to it, which is supposed to make your trigger feel smoother. To be completely honest, I don't feel much of a difference. If anything, I still think my Gen 3 trigger is better. And before you start, typing on your keyboards, this is my personal opinion. If you guys don't agree with it, that's fine. But I don't think the Gen 5 trigger is better than the Gen 3. But the differences in the lowers, that's pretty much going to be it for the uppers. There's not much else that I can find other than that. In the lowers, you obviously have your ambidextrous, Gen 3 on the left, Gen 5 on the right. You have your ambidextrous slide catch, so it is a little bit different design. On the inside of the front, this is all really small stuff, but the spring for the takedown lever is just a metal bar on the Gen 3s that pushes up and down. The Gen 5, which you can't even see, is actually a spring. They do the same thing. It doesn't really change anything at all. In the back here, a little bit different. Not a whole lot. This part here is taller. The trigger bars are all not interchangeable. You do have to get Gen 5 specific trigger bars. But other than that, I mean, it's a Glock. Let's be real with it. But let me throw these back together real quick. Assembly is the exact same for both. There does seem to be a little bit of difference in terms of the plunger that keeps the, what's this called? The extractor. This is a little bit bigger on this one. But then obviously you're going to get ambi controls on this one on the Gen 5. So when it's empty, you can, if you're a lefty, you can hit the slide catch from the other side. And unlike some other ambi guns that I felt, that there isn't much of a difference between the feel, which I think is a good design then, because I felt a couple M&Ps that it's way harder to hit the right side one. This one, it feels exactly the same as the other side. To also show you that the magazine release is reversible, just like on the Gen 4s, I have switched this one over to the left side. So for all you lefties out there, you can switch your magazine release over. The next thing you're gonna see difference is the texturing. This is very similar to the Gen 4, if not exactly the same, and you do have interchangeable back straps. Unlike the Gen 3, which is a different texture, obviously not the same, but you can't change out back straps on these guys. And this one, the Gen 3s also come with finger grooves, and the Gen 4s, which I have gotten rid of on this one, obviously. The Gen 5 does not have finger grooves right off the bat, which is cool, because I personally hate them. Another reason why I really like the Gen 5. The Gen 5s are great if you want to keep them stock and basically do nothing to them, maybe just like sights. That's probably all I do. Throw a weapon light on, be done with it. But they're great guns if you don't want to do a whole lot to them because the texturing is already good, no finger grooves, maybe some undercuts, stuff like that if you want to do that. The magazine well is also much bigger. You do have a flared magazine well on the Gen 5 out of the box. You can definitely tell the difference there. Downside to this, for all you concealed carriers out there, this probably will stick out a little bit more if you're a thicker dude like me. If you're skinny and only weigh $130, then this will probably be completely fine still. Gen 5s, you're also going to see the cutout on the magazine well here on the front. The idea behind this is that if your magazine ever gets stuck, you have the ability to put your finger in here and then rip out your magazine. If it's ever not coming out, you can rip it out pretty easy. That being said, you can also kind of do that with Gen 3s and 4s. It's not that hard. You just grab the back and you can pull it out. The magazines are very, very slightly different. You're probably not going to notice much. Obviously, the followers are different colored. Other than that, they're the same. These are both 15 round mags, but calm down. They're both pinned for 10 rounds only because I live in California. Base pads are a little bit different. You see a little bit more rounded edge on the Gen 5 right here on the front. But other than that, it's the same thing. The only other difference that I can tell is that the Gen 5 does a really good job of like rocketing your magazines out. Like they almost straight up shoot out. Like, pew. The Gen 3, definitely not as nice. It just kind of falls. Doesn't spring out like on the Gen 5s. And I know it's not the magazine's fault because if I put my Gen 3 magazine into here, it still kind of comes out way easier. And yes, obviously this can take other generation of Glock magazines. That has not changed, like I said. Let's do a close-up of the trigger. Like I said, and I showed you earlier, gun is unloaded, no magazine in the gun. But the Gen 3 trigger, you're gonna have a little bit of a take up, and you're gonna hit a wall. There's gonna be a little, and you can definitely feel the wall too, which is nice. You can feel it stop every single time. Be a little bit of creep after that, and then break. The reset, just like any Glock, pretty short, very audible, very tactile. You definitely know it's reset, and then you're right at the wall again, just like that. Now with the Gen 5, I don't know if this is just mine specifically, but it feels a little squishy. Some people have said that the Gen 5 trigger is better, but this is the reason why I don't feel that. I can't really feel a wall. It kind of just goes right past where you would normally find a Glock, like a trigger wall for a Glock. It kind of just goes right past it, and then you have your break, which is still nice and clean, which is good. Reset is exactly the same, but there isn't a wall, which I'm not a big fan of. You can kind of just push right past it. It's hard to explain over video, and I know it's not going to do it justice, but from what I'm feeling, my Gen 3 trigger just feels better. So, do I think that the Gen 5 19 is a worthwhile upgrade? Absolutely. The gun is definitely, in my opinion, a little bit better than the other generations of Glocks. It has a lot of features that I like, and again, this is my personal opinion. You can think what you want. The overall design of the gun, I think, is improved. Only time will tell. It's a bit in terms of shooting and reliability, but let's be real, it's a Glock, it's gonna be reliable, it's gonna shoot just fine. I really am probably not gonna complain about it whatsoever, but again, I don't know, because I just got it. But as a Californian, do I find that this purchase was worth it? Absolutely not. This was kind of just a impulse buy. I've always wanted a Gen 5, but I know for a fact I had to pay a lot of money for it. And for the same amount that I paid for this, you can get this custom Glock for only $100 more, including the price of the gun, obviously, with the stippling and the custom slide and everything, new sights, and a couple of other things. So, anywhere else in the country, I'd say go for it. The Gen 5 is definitely a worthwhile upgrade. If you already have a Gen 3 or a Gen 4, just keep it. You know, the Gen 5 isn't a crazy amount different, but it's definitely got a couple nice features on it. So that is my overview of the Gen 5 Glock 19. If you guys have any comments or concerns or questions about this gun in particular, then please leave them down in the comments section below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you hated the video, cool. If you liked the video, even cooler. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys on the next one.